My next guest is working hard to make sure all Americans are rolling up their sleeves and getting vaccinated. It's going to be a tough job. Before I speak with Jay Timmons, President and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers, let's take a look at their new campaign on vaccine acceptance. Is Jay Timmons with us? Hopefully we've got Jay. There he is. Hey, Jay, how are you, my friend? Listen, Jay, I probably have more knowledge than I should have about the National Association of Manufacturers and your personal commitment and obsessions on getting our response on COVID right, not just now, but over this period of time. And I also want to extend my condolences because I know you lost your father recently to COVID. As you've kind of looked at this period of time of what we have to get right, can you tell us what are the biggest issues on NAM's dashboard?
Well, your last guest, John, with 3M, I think really laid it out very well. We've got to get shots in arms. That's the whole purpose of our campaign, Steve. We need to get shots in arms all across the United States. There are so many challenges to getting that done, as you know. Part of that's the supply chain, making sure that the folks who are actually administering those shots have the syringes in addition to the vaccine, have the bandages that need to be affixed after the shot. They have the alcohol pads and swabs. They have EpiPens in case something really bad happens. There's a lot of things that go into the administration of a shot, and it's different wherever you are. So I took my mother to get her first COVID vaccine last week, and we live in a very large suburban area, so it was kind of a mass facility where people were very, very well taken care of, I will say, in Arlington, Virginia, socially distant, wearing masks, staying for 15 minutes after to make sure there was no reaction. But there were a lot of shots being administered. Take that, there's a different extreme in my hometown of Circleville, Ohio, where my cousins operate Schieber Family Pharmacy. And they're trying to make sure that they are part of saving the world, quite frankly, by administering as many vaccines as they can. So they have a different set of challenges than, say, a large urban or suburban area might have.
One of the topics that's come up, Jay, by President Biden and others is that they would use the Defense Production Act if necessary to amp up supply chain, vaccines, the ecosystem of what things are there. You have some of the largest manufacturers in the world. And I think some people don't understand that those companies, particularly public companies, need the Defense Production Act to give them the permission and space to legally devote this. Well, are there points of tension that you want to talk about or points of opportunity with the Defense Production Act that we ought to talk about with regard to getting vaccine production right with regard to your members?
Well, I'd rather talk about the points of opportunity, but unfortunately, over the past year, there have been many points of contention, especially with the previous administration. Look, the Defense Production Act is an incredible tool that we can use in this country to help us deal with our worst problems. And most people thought that it would be used in case we were in wartime. Well, this is a different kind of war. This is a war for America's health. And manufacturers have been the arsenal of democracy since World War II. Now we are the arsenal of health. So using the Defense Production Act smartly, cooperatively, is exactly what we would like to see. In the previous administration, unfortunately, it was used more as a public relations tool or a weapon. And I think where we can really be successful, and I know the Biden administration is already thinking in this way, we've had many conversations with Jeff Zients and his team. They want to use it as a way to inspire and to help manufacturers, for instance, retool their lines to produce the PPE that is so necessary to get this virus under control. So you think about, and by the way, it's not just public companies. It's also small family-owned companies who simply don't have the capital necessary to retool their line, but they want to do everything they can to be warriors on the battlefield to conquer this virus. But the only way they can do that is a good partnership with the federal government. We're very pleased, quite frankly, with how the Biden administration is looking at this.
Look, I've tried to populate this program today with lots of parts of the vaccine distribution world, right? And the production. So we've got, Pfizer, making a vaccine. We've got the NIH and, folks involved with all of this. We've got UPS Healthcare in terms of distribution, HDA, the Healthcare Distribution Alliance, looking at this. We've got folks in the program that are actually in the pharmacies, the CVS's types and others. I don't know, probably by mentioning anyone, I'm offending someone else. But as you look at that, do we have the connectivity between all of those groups that we need, Jay, from manufacturing to in the arm to everything in between? Or are we missing a kind of conversation to make that process less wobbly? What's your sense?
So, again, I'll harken back to your previous guest, John, with 3M. And I thought he had some very interesting observations. That last mile is so critical. And again, if you think about how it's different between an urban area and a more rural area, how we have to tackle some of these problems. I would say no, those conversations have not taken place, but they are now beginning to take place in a more robust manner. Again, I'm very pleased with how the Biden administration is dealing with this crisis, because they understand the important role, centralizing role of the federal government in a crisis. Business people generally would prefer that the government not interfere with the things that we do. But in this case, because it is a crisis of national magnitude, and in fact, global magnitude, it's very important to have the kind of these institutions stepping up to the plate, whether it's here in the United States, our federal government, FEMA, or some of the other agencies, CDC, NIH, and others, or on a global scale, WHO and some of the other agencies and institutions that are helping to kind of coordinate activities worldwide. So again, I don't think it's been as good as it should have been, but I'm seeing a lot of progress, rapid progress over the last week since the president has taken office. And I really feel like it's going to be in much better shape over the course of the next few weeks.
Jay, I'm going to ask you a personal question, and I hope it's okay. I'm going to divulge some stuff about you that I know maybe I'll pay a price for later.
That's fine.
I think it's because I'm your Facebook buddy. You're a Republican. You're a person of profound faith. We've just gone through a period of time where, if you kind of look at the toxic political lands we've been in, people would spend more time spitting at each other than trying to understand one another. Do you think we've gotten past the worst of that? Do you think that this challenge coming on, as you kind of look across America, you engage so many people on both sides of the line? So this is part, okay, we can talk the manufacturing story, but part of it is putting America back together again. And preserving the democracy, as I've heard you talk about, and getting our economy back and going on. Do you think we're at an inflection point where those bigger issues are now safer than they were before?
So we could probably have an hour-long conversation, but I realize we only have a few minutes. Look, everything, I should say democracy and our constitutional form of government transcends everything. If we don't have a solid system of government in place, if we have uncertainty in government, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for business. It's not good for foreign relations. It's not good for individual Americans. And I do believe that leadership matters. I think that the person who's at the top sends a message to everyone. And that's why I'm very excited, quite frankly, about the tone that has been set by our current president. He, like manufacturers, wants to be a part of the solution. Yeah, we've got problems. We've got big problems. We have racial strife in this country. We have families that are divided because of silly political reasons. We have questions about institutions that we've held dear for many, many years. There's a lot of repair work to be done. But again, Steve, that starts at the top. I believe President Biden is committed to doing that. And I think that the pandemic, unfortunately, has exposed even more than we had realized was happening before, has exposed a lot of those wounds that are going on in the fabric of our society. And I think we have an opportunity, once we are all focused on the importance of getting the pandemic under control, not only getting the vaccine and the shot in the arm, but also everybody wearing masks, not making it some sort of cultural war about whether to wear a mask or not. Gosh, we ought to be protecting everybody. Social distancing, not attending peaceful protests or political rallies, and certainly not being a leader who is encouraging those things to exist. So I think that we've turned a page. We've started a new chapter a week ago. Now it's up to every American to find it within themselves to determine what's important. Is their country? Is the unity of this great nation of ours? Are the principles of democracy and freedom important to us or not? What's most important? And I think that we all will choose correctly, generally speaking, and I think we'll all be able to move forward together. Manufacturers are looking forward to being a part of that solution. I don't want anybody, when it comes to, that's generally, and then specifically in terms of the pandemic, Steve, if we don't all come together, I can tell you there's going to be hundreds of thousands more families who will go through what mine did and watched a loved one die a very lonely and gruesome death. And I don't want that to happen to anyone. And if we all pull together and we all understand what's at stake here, I think we're going to get through this thing. We're going to be on the other side of it. And then we can continue to heal this great country of ours.
Well, Jay Timmons, President and CEO of National Association of Manufacturers, very profound. Thank you so much. I hope you always keep saying yes when I call you to bring you on, because it's very valuable what you share with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And now it's time.